Today we're going to help you make some cheap dynasty trades for your league, some cheap pickups to help you find those stashes. Every week we're looking through the depth charts. We're looking through the waiver wires. We're just looking at the cheaper players in the rankings to give you some ideas on what to do, who to stash, or even give you that confirmation bias. Before we dig in though, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're working hard every day trying to find you those values for your trades, for your dynasty leagues, for your rookie drafts. It's all going to be right here and it's free. Completely free. Click that button. Stop missing out. But we're starting off with Alexander Mattison. He snuck on the Dolphins this offseason. This is a fast-paced offense. The starters get banged up. Devin A. Channel looking at you. Jalen Wright hasn't proved himself yet. Mattison has proven to be productive with different teams. He's a grinder between the tackles. He's not a guy that's going to blow up with production, but RB 86 in value. Being slept on, being forgotten about. He can rack up production somewhere down the line. If you got room for him, maybe he could be an add-on to your team. Monty Bailey. Just looking through depth charts here, guys. So the 2024 NFL draft happened. At the end of that guy, people pegged him as a sleeper to pay attention to, a guy to pay attention to in the back of drafts, a guy to watch off your waiver wire throughout the offseason. Now we're with the Panthers. Raheem Blackshear didn't get it done. We got a training camp and a draft to get through. They could draft another running back to fill out that back end of the depth chart. Jonathan Brooks may be on the pup to start the year. He will be on the pup. He will be on the pup. You got Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard's getting a lot of work. Rico Dowdle will get a lot of work. Running backs are running backs. Running backs get hurt. We should be seeing more injuries at the running back position next year due to not seeing as much as usual last year. As they're saying, the injuries should go back to average, and the average is going to feel like more. Monty Bailey, if he goes through training camp unscathed, he's on the roster, RB3 or whatever, he carves out a role there as a backup. Injuries hit week 6, 8, 11, whatever. Maybe we see him on the field getting his opportunity, and you got a guy you can trade away, you got a guy to use in a pinch, whatever, but he's on the roster. Antonio Gibson's on the roster for the Patriots. I can't see them going through this draft without getting a running back. Looking at this depth chart, that is the thing. These running backs were drama last year for the Patriots. Like Ramondre Stevenson not starting some games, Antonio Gibson getting his opportunity. He did get you an RB2 week. When getting opportunity, he did not really capture it. That's one thing to say. He's RB76, but a stash play, good athleticism, can catch the ball in the backfield. I can't see the Patriots not going running back somewhere down the line here, getting them their RB3, at least filling out the back end of that depth chart. Teams filling out the back end of that depth chart this year in the middle of the later rounds, there's going to be running backs with consequences to some of these starters. But still, he's a player that's cheap. Jerome Ford's cheap right now, and the Browns have to draft the running back, or they bring back Nick Chubb on a discount. They have to do something here, but Jerome Ford is cheap right now. I imagine he's getting held tightly, but if you have him, don't hate on him too much, and he might be sharing the backfield. We know the NFL likes committees. He's proven he can be productive. Productive as what we're seeing here. Off and on, spotty. It is the Browns. You're not trusting the Browns. Pierre Strong, if you want to go even deeper than this, sure, whatever you want to do. But he's cheap right now. I expect the Browns to bring in a running back. That's why he's so cheap. Luke McCaffrey. I don't like Luke McCaffrey, but I have to be unbiased, and I have to look at the macro sense. There's more competition on this team. We are on an offense that's got a lot of firepower. We're very cheap at wide receiver. We're going into year 2. We're still adjusting to be a wide receiver. We were a former quarterback. We're twitched up a little bit. We can play in the slots. Luke McCaffrey's a player that if you pick up or if you have, I feel like over the next 12 months, you're really going to know for sure, and you can just dish him out to the waiver wire. So as a cheap option to pick up, at least you're not hoarding him forever. How he could hit and how he could turn me wrong is if he gels well in training camp, starts hitting in training camp, Jaden Daniels starts peppering him. And maybe that's to the sense of 9 points per game with 1 or 2 spike weeks a year. Maybe that's the sense. But in Dynasty and deeper leagues, that's something you may like anyways. Miles Sanders. I don't like Miles Sanders either, especially on the Cowboys. And I don't think they should have picked him up. I think they should have just went to the draft. What I know about Miles Sanders is he's a training camp dandy. He's a guy that can gain some steam in training camp to the point where the coaching staff was talking about making it a battle for touches going into week 1 between him and Chuba Hubbard. And then Miles Sanders finally showed his true colors, and they could not do that anymore. They could not do that anymore. But Miles Sanders could potentially, in Big D, gain a little bit of value and traction in training camp. He's cheap right now. Do I advocate for him? No. Am I talking about him? Yes. Because you may say, hey, I don't have anybody to look at. He's right here on the waiver wire, and I have him on a deal as a throw-in. What am I getting here? Miles Sanders does have a little bit of pop in his step. He ran a lot of routes in Carolina. There were a few games where he ran 20-plus routes. He was getting opportunity. He showed that. And he might get a little opportunity here in Dallas. Not enough to be consistent. Maybe a couple pop-off games. He had one last year. He had a couple games where he got double-digit production with Chuba Hubbard being the dude there. And he was used a good bit in the passing game with Chuba Hubbard being on the field. Kenneth Gainwell going to the Steelers. This is a good running back. This is a running back, when I say good running back, that is a running back that a lot of teams would have. Not necessarily going to blow the doors off in fantasy production, but a guy that can sneak in there and get touches. That's what the Steelers saw. He is a Steelers-type player where you're good at all phases. He can catch the ball in the backfield. He can grind it between the tackles a little bit. Not a big physical running back, but he's a good running back prospect with a good profile coming out of Memphis. We got Jalen Warren there. He's also a good running back in a sense where he's good for an NFL team, not the greatest for fantasy football. Those two could be a tandem. I look for this team to go running back somewhere in the draft. You look at the back end of the depth chart, that just screams it to me. That just screams, let's draft the running back to fill out the back end at least. Especially when you look at the first 2 picks of their draft. Defense is there, but running back's also going to be there. I could definitely see them blow up this party. We got a 3-headed monster with a good rookie from this class, but still, that would just lead into a committee, and he's still a very talented running back. Jalen Tolbert. Every year in the offseason, it becomes Jalen Tolbert season, and it's never Jalen Tolbert season, but still the numbers improve every year. They get better. Opportunity, workload. We had multiple double-digit performances, or a lot of wide receiver 3 games, but in a pitch and deeper leagues, that's going to help you out. And he looks good in training camp. He gets buzz in training camp. If anything, he'll be more liquid on the trade market in training camp because he'll make those highlight grabs. He'll look good. The Dallas Cowboys are good showing those clips. So you can pedal him off there. Say you get him at wide receiver 96 value. Maybe more liquid wide receiver 80 value, which isn't much, but maybe get you that late round pick. Or you use him in a pinch. They're likely to get a wide receiver in this year's draft to add some competition. But still, Jalen Tolbert's been on the team. They like him a lot. They like him a lot. You listen to the draft show over the years. One thing you'll catch is they like Jalen Tolbert. Roschon Johnson, I'm not really advocating for him. He's a cheaper running back, but he's still kind of expensive. I look for the Bears to draft a running back, but they don't have to either. They do have 2 picks in the second round, 3 picks in the first 2 rounds. There's good odds that they could get a good running back. If they don't, and we get out of day 2 without a running back on this team, his value and the opportunity of him seeing opportunities in 2025 is going to increase. As a back-end role player on your Dynasty team, he's a guy you're just watching, and there's a chance he could end up on a different team later on down the road. He's got good size and just athleticism. He can catch the ball a little bit out of the backfield. We see this with the Chicago Bears, especially his rookie season, where he was getting some targets here. He got some targets here with the Bears. DeAndre Swift explosive, getting some opportunity and some run. I look for this team to draft the running back, but he is also a cheap running back. I believe cheaper on the market than RB50 when it comes to trades. I think he's rather liquid, where you can move a bigger deal and have him part of it, not a main feature. Brendan Rice, he's got to get it done now because there's a lot of mock drafts of them going wide receiver. It's not a great wide receiver class. He'd hold his own very well in this year's wide receiver class. Wide receiver 131. So this is a stash to get you through the draft. And if you get through the draft, now you're looking through training camp, see if you can get on the field. The thing about this is they're more than likely going to go tight end in this draft. We got Ladd McConkey. We are paying up for running back. We picked up Najee Harris on a 1-year deal. We're going to run the football. We got Harbaugh. So even if he hits and gets on the field, the odds of him being fantasy relevant or a high-end fantasy producer is decreased. But in a deeper league where there's nothing there is some ambiguity there. Quentin Johnson is not the greatest wide receiver. Brendan Rice is very technical, but not super twitched up. That is going to hurt him in camp, but also is a player that's free. Cedric Tillman's on an interesting team right now because the Browns are in a position where they need to pick up a wide receiver. Probably why they're looking at Travis Hunter very hard with that first pick. And if they don't go Travis Hunter, odds are in that second pick, they're probably not going wide receiver either. So if they don't go Travis Hunter and they go something else, Shadur, Abdul Carter, I'm not talking about whether those picks are good or bad, but just throwing out a range of outcomes. Whatever you think is what you think. But if that happens, it's him, Judy, and we know this isn't a deep, talented wide receiver class. That's probably one of the reasons why they're looking at Travis Hunter. Look at that wide receiver depth chart, and there's a chance one of those jabroni wide receivers have to run a lot of routes. See a good like 60, 70% route participation rate when that could really just go to Hunter. You got two wide receivers on the outside. You move them around with Judy and Tillman, and now you can use them on defense too. It's kind of a good spot for him when it comes to snaps. Cedric Tillman, though, deep targets downfield. Against him, though, quarterback play. Deep targets downfield. That was Jameis and company. You also got Pickett there as the backup who might be playing a lot due to the Achilles of Deshaun Watson. But he's cheap. He's proven he can be productive. Doesn't mean he will be, but he's there. Kamani Vidal. What if something happens to Najee Harris? What if they do not spend up on a running back in this year's draft, which could happen? I mean, they paid for Najee Harris, and there's other positions of need here. Kamani Vidal, even as a RB3 on the depth chart, he's got some pop. He can catch the ball. If they draft another running back, he's going to be cheaper. Maybe you buy in then. But again, a player to monitor. Sincere McCormick. At the end of the season, they love this kid. And that's the only thing I got to go off of because there's a good chance they're drafting a good running back. And that's going to nuke his value. But RB71 isn't value. Injuries happen at running back. They will throw running backs in and part of a committee. We've seen that with this team. They do like to use two running backs. And as they're getting the rookie up to snuff, unless it's Genty, they're probably going to pound him out a bit. But still, you look at this depth chart, you look at Mostert, you look at it, it's a graveyard right now. Somebody's got to step up and be that RB2. And someone's got to step up in training camp. They do like this kid a lot. So if you're looking for a cheap chip, Roman Wilson, I don't like him too much. We don't know much about the quarterback position. We can only suspect Aaron Rodgers at this point. And at that, you got DK Metcalf, you got Pickens. The balls are going to be going their way. So his value is probably going to get a little bit cheaper. I see it going up a little bit in value. Roman Wilson is going to be healthy this year. You're going to get more looks out of him in training camp. You're going to get more opportunity out of him. He's a very good route runner. He's got good speed to him. He could be the wide receiver too if he proves himself well in training camp. He just did not get the opportunity to. He's been hurt. So maybe that's a chip that you can get like wide receiver 80, 90, 100, 150 value from middle of the year or something. And then we get to 2026. Maybe they trade George Pickens. You look at that contract. You look at everything else coming up. Now you get a bump in value. Now you got the choice to trade Treylon Burks. Holy moly or whatever. Look at that depth chart. There's opportunity here. Cam Ward's the quarterback. He's getting drafted 101. That next pick, are we going wide receiver? Can you really say that? Can you really say that in this draft? Can you really say that? So there's a chance we're running at least a lot of routes. And I get it. You don't get fantasy points for routes. Wide receiver 134. I'm in a deep dynasty league. Maybe he's on waivers. Maybe he can be just a thrown in a trade. There you go. There you go. At least there's a chance we're running a lot of routes. He's still on the team. They haven't cut him yet. That's another indicator. Maybe we could cut in training camp. But Tay Martin, I don't see him pushing him. Stanley Morgan still kicking around. We have a lot of UFL guys here. We have a lot of UFL guys for him to compete against. They're probably going to draft some wide receivers, but it's not the strongest class either. So you may want to look at that if you're looking for some routes on the field, if your league's deep enough. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.